Gray Penner was already 120 pages deep into his newest Clive Cussler book when he finally heard his wife's car roll into the garage. He tapped his Fitbit and saw the time. 8:17 p.m. His mouth tightened. That made 3 late nights this week. Until 4 months ago, Kelly had never come home late, even once in the 7 years they had been married. Gray was not naive. He was not the kind of man who believed in endless excuses. The first few times Kelly called to say she would be late, he did not panic. People work late sometimes. Then he noticed small things. One evening she came home later than usual, and her lipstick looked slightly messy. That was rare. Kelly was almost obsessive about looking perfect. Another time, when she leaned in to kiss him hello, he thought he caught the scent of a man's aftershave. That night, in bed, he tested the idea. He spooned her from behind and pressed his face near her neck as if he was just being affectionate. He did not know much about perfumes, but he knew the sweet scent of the white shoulders he bought her. What he smelled now was not that. Not even close. When Kelly walked in that night, Gray almost breathed in sharply the way he always did. His wife had auburn hair, a confident walk, and the kind of beauty that still stunned him. Kelly was 30 now, and to Gray she looked just as breathtaking as the first time he saw her in college. His near gasp was almost automatic after being apart for hours. Kelly noticed it too. She always did. She smiled to herself when she saw the way his eyes widened. She knew it was real. She knew he still wanted her. And she had to admit, it excited her. It turned her on that her husband found her irresistible, even though she had just recently been kissing another man. She walked over like she owned the room. She said, "Hello, sweetie," gave him a quick kiss, and turned toward the stairs. She said she just needed to change into something comfortable, and she would be back down in a minute. Gray did not say anything. Not because he had nothing to say. Because he did not want to start the argument yet. Kelly did not seem to notice his silence at all. She was already moving, already confident, already above the moment. As she climbed the stairs, Gray caught that same aftershave scent again. His brows pulled together. He felt the dread rise in his stomach. If he wanted any chance of saving his marriage, he knew a confrontation had to happen soon. At that point, Gray believed Kelly had not fully crossed the final line with what he privately called the Prince of Paco Rabanne. But he also believed she was getting closer and closer. For years, Gray had carried a quiet fear. His wife was stunning, and he was, in his own eyes, average. He did not think he was ugly. He just did not think he was in the same league as Kelly. He worried one day she would look at him and decide she could do better and then try to fix what she saw as a mistake. And now the snake in their garden had a name. Johan Wegman. Kelly worked as an assistant vice president at an international telecommunications company. Johan was a vice president who had transferred from headquarters in the Netherlands about 6 months earlier. He was 40, blonde, tall, and built like a fitness model. For the first 2 weeks after Johan arrived, Gray heard more than he ever wanted to hear about him. Kelly talked about the Dutch transfer constantly. Then suddenly she stopped mentioning him at all. Total silence. Gray felt the shift. One evening at dinner, when Kelly was talking about her day, Gray asked if that new Dutch guy was still around at her office. Kelly answered yes and asked why. Gray told her that for weeks Johan was the only person she talked about, and now it was like he vanished. Kelly said Johan worked in another department, so they hardly saw each other. Her cheeks colored. Not just a little. Enough. Gray quietly muttered a small sound and took a bite of food. Inside, he registered it clearly. His wife had just lied to him. The late nights began soon after. Kelly was attracted to Johan from the first moment she met him. He was 6'4", around 225 pounds, and carried himself with extreme confidence, the kind that almost felt like arrogance. He spoke 3 languages. His eyes were deep blue, and Kelly felt like he stared right through her every time he looked at her. If she was honest, she felt something the first time he smiled at her. And the truth was, Kelly and Johan did not work in different departments at all. They worked together often. Within a couple of weeks, they were going to lunch alone. Kelly still told herself she loved Gray. She told herself lunch was just lunch. She did not think about what it was turning into. Johan, however, knew exactly what was happening. He was pushing the connection forward, carefully, gently, like someone who enjoyed the chase. He knew she was married. He also believed she would stop him if he went too far. In his culture, affairs were not treated like the end of the world. 2 weeks later, they were working on a project that was not finished by end of day. Johan suggested they could either pick it up in the morning or stay a bit later and finish. Kelly smiled. That smile answered everything. She called Gray quickly to say she would be a couple hours late. Gray noticed it was the first time in many years she had ever been late at her job. But since he sometimes worked late too, he did not complain. He told her he would handle dinner. Kelly praised him warmly and acted grateful. They left the office at 7, even though the work was done by around 5:30. They both knew it. Staying late became their new habit. At first they talked, then they touched, then they held each other, then they kissed. Kelly knew she was standing on the edge of something dangerous. She also liked it. She liked having a husband and a boyfriend, even if she did not call it that out loud. And she either did not realize Gray had noticed, or she did not care. When Gray and Kelly finished college, Gray got a solid job at a small local telecommunications company. Kelly had the same degree, but she started at a lower level with an international firm. They made a plan early on. No kids until they were 30. They agreed Kelly would go first for an online MBA, so she could move up. After Kelly finished, it would be Gray's turn. Kelly completed her MBA in 4 years. Then she got promoted. Her salary rose. Her title rose. Soon she earned more than Gray and held a higher position. Gray was proud of her. He believed their plan was working. But Kelly, caught up in her success, began to forget the deal. When it became Gray's time to pursue his MBA, Kelly argued that instead, they should use the money to buy a house they could raise a family in. Gray did not like putting his dream on pause, but he admitted buying a home for their future made sense. Kelly told him he could go back to school in a year or two. Then another expense came up. Then another. Kelly always found a big reason to spend the money elsewhere. Gray did not want to seem selfish, so he gave in again and again. Kelly enjoyed being the main earner. She enjoyed having the bigger job. Over time, she stopped seeing them as two equal partners. In her mind, she became the more important one. That night, Kelly came back down the stairs with a nervous energy. She still loved Gray, but she wanted Johan. She wanted his hands, his attention, his weekend. She wanted to curl against him afterward and feel wanted in a new way. But she told herself she could not cheat. Not if she asked first. She convinced herself Gray loved her enough to let her have this one weekend. A hall pass. She believed he had never refused her anything. Gray looked up from his book when she reached the bottom step. He could tell she was about to say something serious. Gray spoke flatly and told her dinner was in the microwave. She just had to heat it for a minute. Kelly thanked him and said she would eat soon. Then she asked if they could talk. Gray closed his book a little. Dirt Pit could wait. He felt the moment coming. Then Kelly said it. She said she wanted a hall pass for the weekend. Gray went still on the sofa. His mind raced. He tried to keep his face calm. Inside, he felt sick, like his stomach wanted to flip. He asked her to repeat, even though he heard her. Kelly said she needed to spend the whole weekend with Johan Wegman. She said they had feelings they needed to deal with once. Only once. She told Gray she loved him, not Johan. She promised she would come back after the weekend and spend the rest of her life proving her love. Gray felt even worse. In his heart, he understood that by making this request, Kelly had already destroyed what they had. Still, he played it out because he needed to hear her. He asked what happens if one weekend is not enough. What if she decides she needs more? What if she decides she needs Johan more than she needs Gray? Kelly promised that would not happen. She said it quickly, like she was trying to stop a fire. Gray asked how she could promise that. He reminded her she already promised him once. She vowed to forsake all others 12 years ago, and now she was ready to break that vow without much trouble. Kelly blushed again and avoided his eyes. She whispered that she needed this, and she knew Gray loved her enough to give it to her. Gray corrected her. He said she did not need it. She wanted it, and she hoped he would be foolish enough to allow it. He told her it would not happen. Then he said something that would later ring in her ears. He said he did not own her, so she could make her own choices. But every action has a reaction. If she did what she thought she must do, then he would do what he must do. Kelly thanked him like she heard only what she wanted. She said she was glad he understood. Gray told her not to pretend she did not understand him. He repeated that she would do what she felt she must, and he would do what he must. Kelly shrugged it off, acting like it was nothing. The next night, Gray came home and found Kelly at the kitchen table, drinking coffee. A small travel bag sat by the door. Kelly was dressed for a night out. She wore one of her sexiest dresses, cornflower blue, mid-thigh length, showing plenty of cleavage. Gray recognized it as an outfit she used when she wanted to feel powerful. Gray said she seemed very sure of herself. Kelly smiled and said she was sure of her loving husband. Gray raised an eyebrow. Kelly told him to give her a goodbye kiss and told him no sulking. She said he should have a great weekend while she was gone. Gray wanted to grab her shoulders and shake her. Instead, he gave her the saddest smile he had and shook his head. He whispered that he loved her so much, using the past tense without thinking. Then he turned and walked upstairs. Kelly noticed he did not kiss her, but she did not process it. Her mind was already on the road, already racing toward Johan, already excited. She felt like a teenager heading to a first big dance. Kelly and Johan had been planning their weekend for 2 weeks. After 3 months of increasing touching and kissing, they decided it was time to see where it would lead. Johan did not mind that she was married. Kelly told him she and Gray were working through things. Kelly met Johan at a hotel lobby. They checked in under a fake married name, Mr. and Mrs. Wegman. They went to their room, dropped their bags, and Johan asked her to twirl. He whistled low, then pulled her into a deep kiss. Kelly thought he kissed incredibly well. They had a reservation at a fancy steakhouse at 7, so they pulled away and got ready to go. Dinner was excellent. They shared one good bottle of wine, not more, because they wanted to feel sharp. They had gelato for dessert. They spoke softly. They touched hands. To anyone watching, they looked like a married couple in love. Back at home, Gray sat with pizza and beer. On the snack table near his recliner were pizza leftovers and 4 empty bottles. Gray could cook well, but not that night. He did not want to cook a real meal while his wife gave her body to another man. Pizza and beer felt like the only honest choice. After he ate, Gray went upstairs with several large trash bags. For 30 minutes, he packed Kelly's clothes into bags without much care. He carried the bags downstairs and lined them by the front door. He packed her jewelry and toiletries more carefully in a box and set it by the door as well. His chest felt tight. His anger felt endless. Then he went back to the family room, put a DVD in, and watched his favorite comedy, Young Frankenstein, because he needed something absurd to survive a night that felt cruel. Meanwhile, Kelly and Johan returned to their hotel room and immediately kissed again. Kelly wrapped her arms around his neck. They stayed locked together for a minute, hungry and excited. Kelly had built up expectations. She assumed Johan would be bigger than Gray, thicker, more impressive, especially since Johan was taller and heavier. But once they finally became physical, Kelly realized something that surprised her. Johan was not much different from Gray in size. As things progressed, her excitement dulled. She felt a quiet disappointment she did not want to admit. She remembered friends joking about the difference between a man who looks impressive and a man who performs. She had not paid attention before. Now she could not avoid it. The next day, Saturday, they planned fun activities before another expensive dinner and another night together. Kelly hoped the first night was just an off moment. Back at home, Gray spent Saturday alone. He did not even turn on the television until dark. He kept turning the situation over in his mind, searching for a way to stay married and finding none. He still loved Kelly. Love does not vanish overnight. But he could not accept the disrespect. He could not accept a future where his wife asked for permission to sleep with someone else whenever she felt like it. A rerun of Leave It to Beaver played in the background, but Gray barely saw it. He drank beer and stared ahead. His mind drifted back to college and how Kelly entered his life. They were both business majors at Arizona State. They shared classes. Gray never assumed the stunning girl even knew his name. Kelly always seemed surrounded by people who admired her. Then, early junior year, she slid her chair next to his in an honors accounting class. She flirted openly, and after class she asked him for coffee. Gray said yes, shocked and happy. From that point on, they were almost inseparable. They married about 6 months after graduation. Until a few months earlier, Gray believed they were forever. Now he saw the cracks. Then Kelly demanded a hall pass, and that cracked everything in half. That Saturday night, Kelly lay in bed beside a sleeping Johan and thought about how much work it would take to get Gray to forgive her. She told herself it was only a weekend. She kept remembering Gray's warning about consequences, but she still believed Gray loved her too much to end the marriage over one weekend. She also felt annoyed with herself for even thinking about Gray while she was with Johan. They had a wonderful day out. Johan was charming in public. He looked great. He knew how to speak. He knew how to make people notice him. But in the room that second night, things again disappointed her. He was selfish, rushed, and not skilled. Kelly kept giving him the benefit of the doubt, but she could not ignore how underwhelming he was. She thought she had blown up her marriage for this. After a shower and brunch, they checked out. Johan was smiling like the weekend was a victory. Kelly smiled back, trying to match his energy. They kissed passionately in the parking lot. Kelly suspected that kiss might have been the best moment of the entire weekend. Then they drove home separately. On the hour drive, Kelly prepared her arguments. She pictured a debate with Gray. She believed he would cool down. She believed she could talk him into forgiving her because she usually got her way. If she had to, she told herself she could buy lingerie and distract him. She smiled at how easily she thought men could be redirected. Kelly pulled into the garage, checked her makeup in the mirror, grabbed her bag, and marched inside with her head high. She called out that she was home. No answer. She waited for Gray to greet her like normal. Still nothing. She heard the big television in the family room. She walked in, annoyed, ready to scold him for acting childish. Gray sat in his recliner watching baseball. He looked away for a second, gave a small nod in her direction, and returned to the game without speaking. Kelly was angry. She huffed and walked out. Then she saw the bags by the front door. She yelled, demanding to know what they were. Gray did not answer, so Kelly opened one bag. She gasped. She opened another. More of her clothes. More bags. She cursed and demanded to know what he was doing. Gray spoke from behind her. He had walked up quietly. He said he was making it easier for her to move out when he served her divorce papers. Kelly spun around in panic. She shouted there would be no divorce. She insisted it was one weekend. She reminded him they had been married for years. She claimed he should be able to give her one weekend. Gray corrected her. He said they did not talk. She talked. He listened. She told him she was taking a hall pass. When it became his turn to speak, he told her he would not accept it. He said it was not his problem that she did not take him seriously. He reminded her marriage meant no hall passes. Ever. Kelly asked if he would really divorce her over one weekend compared to all the years before and the years ahead. Gray said there would be no years ahead because she did this. He reminded her he warned there would be consequences. Kelly cried. Tears slid down her face. For the first time in their marriage, Gray did not move to comfort her. He said she cheated on him. Telling him first did not make it acceptable, especially after he told her not to do it. Kelly tried to twist it. She said he did not tell her not to. She claimed he told her she could make her own choices. Gray replied that he also told her she would face consequences. He said she remembered only what helped her. Kelly stomped around the entryway, breathing hard, staring at the bags. Then she said she was not moving out. It was her house too. Gray told her fine. Since her things were already packed, she could move into the guest room. He would stay in the master bedroom. Kelly muttered fine and began dragging bags up the stairs. She asked if he would help. Gray said he already helped. He packed them. Gray returned to the family room and continued watching baseball. He could hear Kelly stomping upstairs and muttering. Later, she came down and dropped onto the sofa. She picked up the Sunday newspaper and flipped pages loudly, making sure it crackled each time. She wanted him to notice her anger. Then she asked if he was going to ask how her weekend went. Gray asked why he would want to know. He said he assumed she had intimacy with him many times. He asked if that was not what cheating wives do. Kelly said they also went out, did activities, and ate at nice restaurants. Gray said great, He was thrilled for her, and maybe her friend would care. But her husband, for the moment, did not. Gray noticed something else. Kelly did not seem as excited as he expected. The way she focused on dinners and outings instead of bragging about the bedroom suggested Johan was not the superstar she imagined. Gray decided it was not his problem. On Monday, Gray began separating finances. He split accounts and prepared for divorce. He could not meet his chosen lawyer for another week, so he knew he would be in the house with Kelly for a while. Kelly spent Monday avoiding Johan. She knew he saw the weekend as a success, while she saw it as a disappointment. She also knew their connection had changed, and not in a good way. More than anything, she needed Gray to forgive her. She wanted Gray back, so she could use him as a reason to stop Johan's future advances. Kelly's life had become messy fast. She debated whether to sit down and talk with Gray again, or pretend nothing happened and wait for him to cool down. She chose the second path because it felt easier. As she thought about it more honestly, she had to admit that cheating wife fit her better than loving wife. She wondered if she would see things differently if the weekend had been amazing instead of dull. That night, Gray did not speak to Kelly when he came home. He ate without talking. When he finished, he carried his plate away. Kelly whispered she was sorry. She said it again, louder, hoping he would soften. Gray turned and told her that after all these years, he thought she would have loved him enough not to ask permission to become a cheating wife. He asked how selfish and delusional she could be. The next day at work got worse for Kelly. 5 minutes after she arrived, her friend Emma Lazel walked into her office and closed the door. That was not unusual, but Emma looked tense. Emma asked, in a half-whisper, whether Kelly really spent the weekend with the Dutch Thor. Kelly's eyes widened. She asked if Johan had been bragging. Emma said she assumed the story came from him if it did not come from Kelly. But Emma did not hear it from Johan directly. She heard women whispering in the break room at 8 in the morning. Emma warned it would spread through the office by noon. Kelly put her face in her hands. Tears landed on her desk. Emma told her she had now become the cheating wife every woman hates and every man wants to use. Then Emma raised her eyebrows and asked how good it was. Kelly said that was the biggest problem. It was not good. She said she ruined her marriage for what? She told Emma Johan was big, handsome, charming, and a complete disappointment in bed. She said he was not much bigger than Gray and not half as good, but he acted like he was a gift to women. Emma's shock turned into concern. Emma asked how much Kelly would need to do to get back in Gray's good graces. Kelly said she wished it was that simple. She said Gray kept talking about divorce. 7 years together, and he went nuclear. No counseling, no long talk, nothing. Kelly complained he was being unreasonable. She insisted she gave him a heads up. Emma reminded her that if he did not approve, the heads up meant nothing. Emma said Kelly was smart and could not pretend she did not see this outcome as possible. 2 weeks later, Gray said almost the same thing when Kelly called him crying because she had been served divorce papers at her office. Kelly sobbed and claimed Gray told her she could. Gray replied that he told her it was her choice and there would be consequences. He said he never gave her full permission to spend a weekend with that blonde man. He said she made it all about herself and did not care what he wanted. A couple weeks after that, Gray got a call from Kelly's parents. They begged him to talk to their daughter and consider reconciliation. Gray liked them and always got along with them, so he tried to be gentle. Kelly's father accused Gray of refusing to listen. He insisted Kelly made a mistake and Gray was better than this. Gray asked if that was really what she called it. He said he did not consider a hall pass weekend with a co-worker a simple mistake. He reminded them he warned her there would be consequences. Kelly's father reacted with disbelief. He said she could not have been that foolish. Gray stayed quiet. Kelly's father apologized and said he did not know what else to say. He promised he would not bother Gray again. The next day, Kelly called Gray. Gray groaned when he saw her name. Kelly apologized for her father calling. She admitted she did not tell her parents the full truth. She said, that was not something you confess if you do not have to. She said she never expected her father to call, and she never expected Gray to expose her. Gray replied that he did not expose her. He told the truth. Kelly and her lawyer tried to delay the divorce, but Gray filed for irreconcilable differences, and there were no kids, so the process moved forward. The divorce finalized in 9 months. Kelly could not understand why Gray would not give her a second chance. She kept calling it a mistake. Gray explained that the mistake was not only physical. He said she had an emotional affair long before she slept with Johan. He said she ignored his feelings. He said she disrespected him in the worst way. Then he asked when she stopped loving him. Kelly cried again. In the past, Gray would have comforted her. Now he accused her of trying to cry her way back into his heart. Kelly insisted he still loved her and asked why they could not reconcile. Gray admitted he still loved her. He said that was why it hurt so much. But he said it was clear she did not love him as much as he loved her. He said he would never have cheated, not ever. And he said he could never trust she would not do it again when another man caught her attention. Kelly promised there would never be another man. Gray replied there should not have been a first man. He reminded her she already made promises in her vows. Kelly whispered that she knew. During the months the divorce was pending, Johan asked Kelly out several times, and other coworkers did too. Being labeled the office cheating wife made her the center of gossip. Human Resources called her in a few weeks after the weekend. They told her the company did not ban coworkers dating, but they expected discretion. They said when half the men were talking about her playing house with Johan for a weekend and half the women were guessing who was next, it created a problem. They warned that if the talk did not stop, she might be moved to another office. They joked that Maine was pretty that time of year. The very next day, Johan asked Kelly out again. He told her husband was divorcing her. They did not even have to leave the city to have another weekend. Kelly snapped. She told him to take a hint. She told him she destroyed her marriage for mediocre intimacy she thought she needed. She called herself an idiot and told him to go away. 2 weeks later, Kelly accepted a job transfer to North Carolina. By the time she left, people in the company learned Johan was not the bedroom legend he pretended to be. A month later, Johan transferred back to Amsterdam. Life moved on. On a different Saturday morning, in a grocery store, a woman named Margaret Scanlon watched a handsome man drift down the aisles like he was half asleep. A friend called her Peggy. She was a 5th grade teacher at a local elementary school. She considered herself average-looking, with an average body, nothing special that would attract a good-looking man. She was 29 and nearing 30, with no serious prospects. The man looked like he was in his mid-30s. He did not give off the vibe of a player. He looked lost, maybe hurt. Peggy noticed he did not wear a wedding ring, but she guessed he was single even before checking his hand. His cart told the story. Pop-Tarts, frozen pizza, macaroni and cheese, beer, and grill meat. That cart screamed single, maybe divorced. People described Peggy as mousy. She had short, wavy light brown hair, big brown eyes, and pale skin. She was 5'5", average size, with decent legs and a strong, rounded backside she secretly liked best. She saw herself as a wallflower. In college, friends called her the perfect wingwoman because she was loyal and friendly and not a threat. She first noticed the man months earlier. She kept seeing him. 2 months ago, she started paying closer attention. Then one day, completely out of character, she decided to speak. She introduced herself and asked if he would like to get coffee. The man backed up slightly and looked at her carefully. She was not stunning like Kelly. Not many were. But something about her face, something about her eyes, made him say yes. It was the first time in 2 years he considered a woman as more than just a friendly stranger. He said he would like that. Peggy was easy to read. She had not dated much, and never seriously. She was intelligent and well-read, and she talked openly about her life. When she finished, she sat quietly, waiting for him to share. She watched his eyes and saw a familiar kind of pain. She recognized the look of someone who had been deeply hurt. He hesitated, deciding how much to reveal. Then he told her almost everything. When he finished, both sat quiet. Gray exhaled heavily, like he put down a weight he had carried too long. He apologized for dumping his story on her, and said she was the first person he told the full truth. Peggy smiled, and said people often told her that. She joked that she was also good with kids and dogs. Gray laughed. He felt comfortable with her in a surprising way, almost like the early days with Kelly before the marriage collapsed. Gray and Peggy went on more dates. By the following Friday, they had another date set. On their third date, they became intimate for the first time. Peggy tried to wait longer, but she could not resist Gray's quiet steadiness. He never pushed hard, but his calm attention pulled her in. After dinner at a Hungarian restaurant, Gray invited Peggy back to his apartment for coffee and dessert. They sat close on a love seat. Peggy leaned in first and kissed him. 10 minutes later, they were in his bedroom. Gray realized it was the first time since his divorce that he felt like he was making love, not just having intimacy. He kissed her throughout, slow and gentle. Afterward, Peggy lay tangled with him and murmured that it was okay, and they had time to talk later. Then she asked, playfully, what he was doing for the next few decades. A year later, Peggy finally became the main woman in the room after being a bridesmaid 4 times. She and Gray married. 2 years after the wedding, they had a son. 2 years later, they had a daughter. Peggy never forgot her vows. Gray never knew this, but Kelly never forgot that lesson either. Years after moving to North Carolina, Kelly remarried. She stayed faithful to her second husband for 15 years, until she caught him cheating. Only then did she fully understand the pain she had caused Gray. She divorced her second husband quickly. Kelly still took care of herself. She still went to the gym. She was still attractive as she neared 50, but she was single, alone, and approaching 50, and she never imagined that future. Her second husband was 10 years older and did not want children. Now it was too late. Kelly knew there were younger men who would sleep with her, but none wanted a real life with her. She laughed, more like a harsh bark, thinking about it. Gray wanted 2 kids. Kelly wanted 3. If she had stayed, their 3 kids would be teenagers by now. She and Gray would be going to school events, sports, band nights, PTA meetings. High school graduations would be near, followed by college graduations, weddings, grandchildren. All of it erased for one mediocre weekend she thought she deserved. She shook her head, ashamed, for what felt like the 1,000th time. A few months later, across the country, Gray and Peggy Pinner sat in a high school gym with their 15-year-old son, Reggie. They watched their 18-year-old daughter, Phyllis, walk across the stage and accept her diploma. Peggy squeezed Gray's arm. They exchanged a look with happy tears. Gray leaned in and kissed Peggy quickly on the lips. Their son groaned in embarrassed protest and begged them not to do that there. His parents smiled at him, then at each other, and raised their eyebrows like they still had their own private joke. And that brings us to the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it surprise you in a way you did not see coming? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you stayed hooked to the end, hit like. And if you have not subscribed yet, now is a great time. I share fresh, entertaining stories often. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.